So I've put over 100 hours into the Nether update so far, and that's just simply survival. That's not including creative. So I feel like I have a pretty good idea of what this update has to offer. So today we're going to be talking about the good, the bad, and the ugly of the 1.16 update. But by far, this is the best update ever, and it introduces the most content we've ever seen in an update ever for Minecraft. Just here's a list of everything we've gotten so far, and that's not even including the mechanics. So we got a lot to go over in today's video. I'm really excited about this video because I feel like I have a lot to discuss, and it's just a very overwhelming update. If you're going to be playing this for the first time once it releases, you're going to have a blast. It's going to just feel like a completely different world because the Nether update does change every single aspect of the Nether except the Nether Fortress, and we'll be talking about that briefly as well. So hopefully you guys do enjoy today's video. If you can do me a huge favor and crush the like button for me, especially if you're just really excited for the release date for 1.16. Let's see if we can get over 16 likes in today's video. And don't forget to hashtag Stealth Army as well, because I will be liking and favoriting some of the best comments in today's video. Now, right off the bat, let's go ahead and talk about what you're going to notice immediately once you jump into the Nether for the first time, and that's how immersive this update feels. It feels like a different ecosystem entirely. Everything's connected. You have 4 biomes in total now. Actually, you have 5. You have the Nether Wastes, which is essentially this biome right here. It looks the same, it feels the same in a lot of ways to the old Nether, but they've changed a lot of the generation. It feels more like different layers. You know, there's a lot going on above you, below you, in all different directions, which is pretty cool at the same time. So we got the Nether Wastes, we got Soul Sand Valley, we got the Crimson Forest, the Warped Forest, and the Basalt Deltas. So a lot to explore, a lot to check out in this update, which is fantastic because more than likely, you're not going to be able to find all of those brand new biomes in one day or one sitting. So it gives you a lot to explore, a lot to check out, and it's just going to be a lot of fun and very dangerous at the same time. So a lot of content in terms of biomes. The music is just fantastic as well. They introduced a couple new soundtracks as well as a new music disc. And I know a lot of you guys love the new music disc. It's called Pig Step. And I feel like they did focus a lot on the music, and it shows because it adds to the atmosphere, it adds to the mood and the environment and the setting, and it just makes every single biome feel uniquely different. It adds to the energy, and I just feel like I'm in a movie at times. Now, that's something I really want to focus on in today's video is the atmosphere, because every single biome you're going to explore has a different atmosphere. It has different colors going around, different particle effects, and you just feel like you're in a different world. If it's the Crimson Forest, you have the red, and you have like these particles floating around. You got the Warped Forest, which feels uniquely safe at times, especially compared to the other biomes. It also has this very magical and twisted feeling about it. A very fun biome to explore. Compared to the Basalt Deltas, which is extremely dangerous, even compared to Soul Sand Valley, which just has a ton of mobs constantly spawning, the Basalt Deltas feels like you're exploring a volcano, and a lot of parkour is going to be involved if you're in survival. It's a very dangerous biome surrounded by lava and by magma cubes. Now, we'll be focusing on mob spawning toward the end of the video, but just know that mob spawning has always been a problem with this game, and it's definitely apparent in the 1.16 update. Mobs are constantly spawning. If you turn left and there's not a mob there and you look away, more than likely there will be something there a second later. I am not exaggerating, it's that bad, but we'll talk about it briefly at the end of the video. For now, I want to focus on more of the positive things, the things that I love and more than likely you will love as well. Now let's talk about piglins and bartering. Mojang has done such an amazing job with piglins and the bartering system. I have a feeling a lot of you will be spending countless hours trading and bartering with the piglins, trying to get some rare loot or just items that is going to help you survive in the Nether. Now, I'll have a list of most of the items you can get from piglins and bartering, but I found myself really appreciating and valuing the fire-resistant potions and ender pearls. Those are the two that are really going to help you explore the nether, because it's still very difficult to explore the nether. They didn't really change too much about exploration and traveling. We do have the striders, which I absolutely love the striders. It does allow you to traverse lava and travel around lava pools. However, it's still very difficult to get from one area to the next area unless you have either fire-resistant potions or ender pearls. Those are definitely going to help you, which is why try to accumulate as much of those as possible, and by bartering with piglins, it increases your chance of survival. So you definitely want to get as much gold as possible, which isn't very difficult in the nether. There's gold everywhere now. It's a lot easier to get gold in the nether than it is in the overworld. We'll see if they end up patching that or nerfing gold like they did everything else. But as of right now, bartering is just a lot of fun, and I feel like it's one of the best aspects of the update so far. Now let's go ahead and focus on another element of this update that I really enjoy, which are the Bastions. Technically, they're called the Bastion Remnants, and this is basically the home to piglins and as well as hoglins for some odd reason. You can find a ton of hoglins here as well. Maybe they're just a food source in this bastion, but it just sort of confuses me at the same time. But the structure itself is so destroyed that it might annoy some of you. If you haven't explored the Bastion yet, these are highly destroyed ancient buildings that have been in the nether for a long time, and you can just sort of tell by the block placement how if you just take one small step, you're falling all the way down to the very bottom, which more than likely involves lava. So be very careful when exploring the Bastions, and they've gone through a ton of changes. In the past few weeks alone, they have nerfed the Bastion loot. So that means you can no longer get netherite armor in these structures, and that was a huge incentive to find one of these things because you knew that was another way, another method to obtain netherite gear. Now, that doesn't mean you still can't get netherite. You can still get ancient debris as well as ancient scraps, but they're still extremely rare and very hard to come across in the Bastions. I've checked out multiple Bastions in survival as well as creative, roughly 40 or 50 of them, and it's still very hard to come across ancient scraps and ancient debris. So just trying to get that netherite ingot is going to take a lot of grinding if you're not the type of person who likes to mine or look for ancient debris. So just keep that in mind. And they also recently nerfed the generation of the Bastions. So we're not going to see them as frequently. They're going to be spaced out further. So yes, they're a lot more uncommon now. So the Bastions have gone through a ton of changes, and it might not even stop there until the release of 1.16. But let's actually move on to some other things that I really enjoyed about this update, which is all of the new plant life and vegetation, as well as the mobs in this update, which there's quite a few. And I know some of you guys are going to point out the fact that we're not getting a mini boss or a boss in the nether update, which is really unfortunate. It's really sad that we still have to wait for another update or possibly multiple updates before we get a boss in the nether or in the overworld. You know, they shut down the piglin chief or the piglin leader, so that's not happening as well. But we still got a ton of new plants as well as mobs like the zoglins, the hoglins, the piglins, baby hoglins. We got the striders, which are absolutely adorable. I love the striders to death. They are peaceful and they allow you to move around lava, which is just unheard of. Something that is just a completely crazy concept in and of itself. But I love the striders to death. And then we got all of the plants like the funguses. We got the neliums, the roots, the shroomlight, the twisting vines, the weeping vines. A ton of plants in this update. It's overwhelming, all of the cool content that we have that can sometimes go unnoticed, but it's still there, and it just shows you how much love and care the Mojang team has put into this update. They almost covered everything. Almost, at least. But let's actually talk about another element that I really love about this update, and that's the fact that you can now live in the nether, and they included new mechanics and new features and items to make that more convenient and simpler. Starting with the respawn anchor, which allows you to respawn in the nether multiple times, recharging it with glowstone. So we can now use glowstone blocks to recharge our respawn anchor, and that way if you do die, or when you die, if it's my case, you're able to respawn in that vicinity or that area. So clearly a lot more interesting and unique than just placing a bed down and calling it quits. You can now charge the respawn anchor up to 4 times, and that's going to be very helpful for casual players and for beginners. Now, let's talk about the Lodestone, which is another new block introduced in the Nether update, which will allow you to locate a certain area or object or building as long as you have a Lodestone and you place it down and then you sync it with your compass. This is going to be very helpful, even more so than a beacon, because it doesn't matter the distance, you'll be able to locate that vicinity or that location as long as you have your compass. It will point you toward the Lodestone, and like I said, you can use it pretty much anywhere, the overworld, the Nether, as well as the end. So one of the most useful blocks and mechanics in the entire update, the Lodestone, which can also be found in the Bastion. Now, there's so many more positive and amazing things to talk about when it comes to the Nether update. We could literally make this a 5-hour video if I really wanted to, but there are some things I want to focus on that I'm not too happy and pleased about when it comes to the 1.16 Nether update that I wanted to discuss for a few minutes, starting with mob spawning. We all know at this point that mob spawning has been an issue for the game for a very long time, both on Bedrock and Java Edition. I'm sure Mojang knows about it. I'm sure every single developer that works on the game knows about it, but unfortunately, the Nether update has really highlighted the issue, and this can be found in every single biome. The overwhelming amount of mobs and how unpredictable it is, to the point where it can often ruin the fun and the immersion. If you're in the basalt deltas, the magma cubes constantly spawn. If you're in Soul Sand Valley, ghast are constantly spawning as well as skeletons, to the point where you're just constantly running all the time. If you're in the Crimson Forest, let's be real, piglins are everywhere as well as hoglins. They're constantly chasing you. And then you have the Warped Forest, which is supposed to be more peaceful compared to the other biomes. You have to deal with Endermen constantly spawning, and they're always around you, to the point where it's annoying and you're always running from something. So there's clearly an issue in every single biome, and it all boils down to mob spawning. And unfortunately, this issue might overshadow a lot of the positive and good things that this update has to offer. That's purely subjective. I personally feel like the mob spawning is so bad that it can take away from a lot of the fun and enjoyable moments that I've found in this update. Now, to wrap everything up, I do want to focus on a few things that are unfortunately not included in the Nether update that have had a negative impact on the perception of 1.16. First and foremost, the fact that they're not going to update the Nether Fortress or change the layout, change the design. They're not going to do anything to the Nether Fortress. And we learned about this several months ago. I would go as far to say last year we knew that they weren't going to touch the Nether Fortress, and they have stuck with that. I'm not sure why they chose not to change it. To be honest, I feel like they had enough time. It's not to be ungrateful, like I said earlier. It's just a lot of people wanted to see the Nether Fortress change. It's a very, very old structure. It's been in the game for almost 10 years, I would imagine, by now. So why wouldn't they update or change the Nether Fortress when they are set on changing everything else? Cough, cough, zombie pigmen, if you didn't catch that shade already. Now, they also chose not to add a new boss. And in my opinion, that should have been one of the first things they addressed before introducing any more content in terms of biomes, in terms of other mobs related to the Nether update, as well as vegetation. I feel like this update was the perfect opportunity for a brand new boss. There's hundreds of ideas I've seen on feedback related to mini bosses and bosses. I know one of the more popular ones being the Piglin Chief, and sadly we're not receiving a boss in the Nether. And it's been a very, very long time since we received a boss, and it just shows. I feel like, especially for people that have been playing the game for a long time, there's not really a big challenge, a clear challenge anymore besides the Ender Dragon the Wither boss, as well as the Elder Guardians, which a lot of people have defeated already countless times. So it definitely makes you wonder what's Mojang planning and why would they refuse this opportunity. They could have done a lot of things with bosses, like the Piglin boss, some sort of Golem boss. They could have done something with the Hovering Inferno from a couple MINECONs ago. But let me know what you guys think about everything we've seen so far in the Nether update. What are some features you wish that would come to 1.16, as well as things that you feel like they can improve on? Hopefully you guys did enjoy today's video. I really appreciate all the support lately. Notification Squad, y'all are the best, and I'll catch you all in the next video. So take care, everyone. Peace.